Chapter 8. Josiah. The blanket tent was, indeed, a stupid idea, but it was also a strangely romantic idea too, and lying next to Ray watching wildlife documentaries comprised of an almost perfect Saturday. Ray had ordered so much food on the breakfast cart, and he'd stashed away rice, fish, and vegetables, tucking them in the back of the refrigerator behind the beer for later. After the hearty breakfast, they crawled into the tent with Josiah's laptop, and Ray curled up behind him, his brawny chest against Josiah's back and his head nestled in the crook of Josiah's neck. Josiah shivered as he pressed play on the keyboard and adjusted the screen, tipping it back just a little, so they could both easily watch the nature documentary. The documentary was one Josiah had seen before, but it was also one of his favorites. The narrator's voice was soothing, and the footage was amazing. For someone with a love for photography and video editing, he had a deeper appreciation for the caught footage than the average person. Some of it even sprung tears to his eyes. There was something about seeing the beauty of nature in an unedited, untouched form that brought a smile to his lips as he watched birds perform their mating dances and lions tossing the dust from their manes. The world was harsh but beautiful. Josiah wiggled in Ray's arms, causing the other man to lift his head and peer down at him. "You okay?" "Yeah. It's just beautiful. My dream used to be being a photographer or videographer like this. It's what I went to school for, but I did a final project on social media, and it ended up becoming my job." "Aren't you still kind of a videographer, though?" "I don't know. All I do is slap different clips of me wearing clothes into one 20-minute video. It's not really complicated or exciting. I can't do it." "Just because you can't do it doesn't mean it's complicated." When the current documentary ended, Josiah wiggled more in Ray's arms, lying on his back and peering up at the Playboy businessman. His heart fluttered again, and a knot of nerves formed in his gut. Caged between Ray's strong arms and surrounded by a curtain of inky black hair, he felt at home, and he hated it as much as he liked it. The comfort he found in Ray's arms didn't erase everything he knew about the other man. He knew about those clandestine affairs with men and women, young and old, skirting the fine lines of appropriate behavior. "Are you happy?" Josiah blurted out, but then his cheeks tingled and sweat collected on the back of his neck. "Sorry. You don't have to answer. Right now. Or in general." Josiah rubbed the back of his neck, thinking over Ray's question. "Both, I guess." Ray quirked his lips. "I'm enjoying being away from normal life." "So you mean no? Do you ever answer a question honestly at all?" Ray set his jaws. "Again, you mean no? Tell me one honest thing. Just one." "I already agreed to do your fake boyfriend thing, and I get it. You're a rich billionaire Playboy businessman, but is there anything more?" Ray studied Josiah, gaze scanning down his body before finding his eyes again. "You want something real?" "Anything. Even if it's just your favorite color. I want to know there's something in there, even if you don't actually want me to know you. It's fine. If I'm not the one for you, it's fine, really, but make this whole fake relationship less painful. Please?" Ray rumbled, combing his fingers through his hair. It slid over his shoulders and framed his sharp, kissable jawline. "I spent 10 years in therapy as a child for anxiety, and I'm still thinking about the pair of underwear you threw in your drawer." Josiah blinked. His gut reaction had been laughter, but no one, especially not a known playboy, confesses to needing therapy. "Oh. It's been a while since I've had a panic attack. They were frequent when I was a child, but they are now few and far between." He sighed. "All right, your turn. You already know plenty about me. I know what the internet says about you. What you tell everyone. I want to know something secret too. One for one." Josiah arched under Ray, brushing one leg along the other man's body and arching his feet, stretching his toes. "And it can't be about sex. Never thought I'd have to say that." "Whatever." Josiah bit the inside of his cheek, looking around the private little tent Ray had built around them. Tents for adults were still silly, but there was something magical about it, something private and intimate. What happened in their little tent was between them. Not even God could see them. When I was little, I used to groom my cat so she wouldn't be lonely for her cat family. Ray smiled. Cute. He brushed his fingers over Josiah's eyebrows, picking a speck of lint from them and smoothing them, and Josiah closed his eyes at the touch. More please, he whispered as Ray's hand retreated. A whimper passed his lips too. More? Josiah nodded. Touch me more. You sure? Yeah. Okay, Ray murmured, voice low and soothing, like warm sweet coffee on a winter morning. His rough fingers trailed over Josiah's eyebrows again, down the slope of his face and over his cheekbones, tickling his skin. The backs of his fingers danced along Josiah's stubbly jawline, and his thumb touched Josiah's lips. They parted, and he shuddered under Ray again. Virgin had never meant he wasn't intimate. Josiah and his ex-boyfriend had done things, dry humping, mutual and separate masturbating. Josiah had pushed the envelope on what he considered acceptable behavior, because he had been desperate to keep a person he thought was faithful. Even with what Josiah had done, Quentin still pushed for more. A dry humping session turned into demanding mutual masturbation, and the mutual masturbation turned into wanting just one lick or just one touch. Ray was different. He wasn't making his excitement a secret. It was between their bodies, strong and firm against Josiah. It throbbed, but Ray didn't push. Instead, he honored Josiah's request, exploring his skin. He slid tawny-colored fingers over Josiah's mahogany skin, and they were both mesmerized by the touch, lost in the connection. Ray's eyes hooded as he slid his thumb over the bridge of Josiah's nose, rumbling when he finally traced his eyebrows and smooth forehead again. You're beautiful, Ray rumbled. Josiah recognized the husky arousal in his comforting words, and he wrinkled his nose, pushing against the other man. Let me up. Ray paused with his fingers at the edge of Josiah's hairline. He smoothed curls of baby hairs before he obliged the other man and rolled away from him, propping himself up with his elbow as Josiah pushed himself up and rubbed his hands down his face. What is it? Nothing. Liar. It's clearly not nothing, so tell me what's up. Josiah flicked his gaze towards the top of the tent, sucked in a deep breath, and then sighed on the exhale. How many people have you done this with? This dumb blanket tent and this you're so beautiful thing. Ray didn't say anything. Well? How many? I'm asking. Is this what you do to win people over? You build this childish tent and you tell one little secret about yourself, so you seem endearing, and then you asked for the secret. And? I'm not so naive to think no one else has ever asked you for a secret before. Josiah's stomach churned. How do I know this isn't your standby one? I feel sick. Josiah. Don't. He scrubbed trembling hands down his face. Don't touch me. Please. Ray frowned, sitting upright with him. What is it? Josiah shook his head. I don't want to be one of your conquests. I'm not a prize, and wooing me or whatever isn't going to get you what you think it will. I know you're not a prize, Josiah. Are you sure? Because you're trying really fucking hard to make me one, and I promise you, it's not going to happen. Whatever you think is going to happen here, isn't going to fucking happen. Josiah glowered. I'm not backing out of our agreement, but we can't do things like this. I want our arrangement to be strictly business. Josiah. What? He snapped. I haven't done this with anyone else. How do I know you're telling the truth? He gave a brief pause. I don't. The truth is, I don't know if you're lying or not lying. This is crazy, but you just have to trust me. And why would I trust you with your very specific and detailed resume? I didn't sleep with you the other night. Josiah knit his eyebrows together. Not sleeping with me when I was drunk isn't a favor. It's called simply being a decent human. You begged me. I was drunk. Obviously. Josiah scowled. And you pouted when I turned you down. Still drunk. Actually, why didn't you fuck me? I didn't realize you were so discerning. Ray shrugged. I told you. I didn't think your first time should be some drunken tryst you wouldn't remember, and you were really drunk. To be fair, you probably wouldn't have made it through the whole session. Well, okay then. Josiah gathered the comforter over his lap and stretched. Anything else you want to say since you're just laying things out? No. I'm going to go start on dinner. I can eat leftovers from breakfast. No. I promised you dinner, so you're getting dinner. Despite their tense conversation, Ray offered a little smile. I'll go get started. He dipped out of the tent, and Josiah crossed his arms over his body, hugging himself and resting his head on his knees. His eyes welled with tears for a third time, and his features screwed up. He kept his breathing steady, even though he trembled inside the tent. Secret crying. It was something he found himself doing all the time with Quentin. In fact, there were more nights where he cried himself to sleep than nights when he didn't, but he hadn't learned the technique with his ex-boyfriend. He'd learned it as a child. He stayed in the curled-up position, letting the tears slide over his cheeks and along his knees, trailing down his corded thighs, losing track of time. Josiah, dinner's ready. Did you fall asleep? Ray tugged the flaps of the blanket tent open, and Josiah snapped awake, swiping his arm over swollen eyes and puffy cheeks, but it was too late. Hey. Fuck. What's wrong? Nothing, Josiah whispered, turning his face away as a new wave of tears formed. His brain screamed at his body, chanting pep-talking him, but his body had gone rogue. The tears were falling, and there was nothing he could do about it. Shit. Did I hurt you? Ray ducked into the tent and moved over to him. And no. Josiah pinched his eyes. This is embarrassing. It's not, Ray corrected. You've been through a lot lately. It's okay. If you want to talk about it, you can. Josiah shook his head. I don't. Okay, but if you ever want to talk, you can. I don't think I will. I mean, you don't know how it feels to be violated. Aren't you on the opposite side of things, usually? Usually. Ray retreated and came back with 2 bowls of stir-fry. He set one bowl in front of Josiah and crossed his legs, setting the second bowl in his lap as he mixed everything together. They didn't have any chopsticks, or I would have gotten some. Josiah peered down at the meal. My first sexual experience, Ray sighed. It was with a woman much older than me. I had a crush on her, and she took advantage. He squinted down at his food. My parents, well, they took action when they found out, and I was so angry at them. It took me years to realize I'd been violated, but the effects were there. Josiah turned to Ray. What? The anxiety, the organization thing, it all happened after the experience. My parents noticed. As I said, they took action. I was safe afterwards, but I was never away from the person, hence the panic attacks. Oh, Josiah frowned. I'm sorry. It's fine. The point is, I know how it feels to be hurt. I know it's not the same as what you've gone through. He spooned rice into his mouth, chewing steadily and swallowing. His actions were controlled, and the pain was evident in his eyes. They were deep chasms of sadness, fractured and broken, and Josiah hadn't noticed until now. He had made all of his points about Ray being a calloused playboy, but the truth had always been in his eyes. Josiah poked at his food, stabbing the vegetables with his fork. The worst part is I still feel his hands all over me, and it feels like ants. I can't handle it, knowing you've touched so many other people and been intimate with them. Intimate is a word. You slept with them. Yeah, but it wasn't any sort of mind-blowing deep experience. It was fun, assisted masturbation basically. You still slept with them though. I did, yup. And now? What happens when we're no longer locked down, and you can do whatever you want? What do you want to happen? If we're pretending to be together, then I don't want anyone coming out of the woodwork saying they've been with you, since we've been together. A given. Are you going to be able to resist those types of urges? Ray chuckled, smiling. I'll be fine. I've got hands and some favorite porn stars I can revisit. Anyway, eat your food before it gets cold. Ray tipped his head towards Josiah's bowl. Porn stars, huh? They're definitely not nearly as sexy as you are, but it is what it is. Well, thank you, I think. Josiah exhaled a little giggle, surprising them both with the sound. The release was good, and Ray's confession grounded Josiah. The raw honesty of it was something Josiah needed. Ray had witnessed one of the darkest nights in Josiah's life, and Josiah needed the same in return. He needed to know Ray could drop his guard and open up to him. You're welcome. Now eat. I won't tell you again. He gave an up nod to Josiah's food.